new normal is pretty much doing as much deliveries as I can. It takes up a lot of time. It can be hours and hours, and you don't even realize how long it can take, but I mean, sometimes all day.
A new version of borrowing a cup of sugar?
Yes, it is a new version of borrowing a cup of sugar, but with people that we don't know.
So mutual aid on a basic level is when a group of people collectively pool their resources together to come to aid. It's not a one-off thing. It's not top-down. It's a collective strategy of a community taking care of themselves.
Oh, there's Monica, and she's waiting with the shopping cart. Amazing. This is why I love Monica. She's like my absolute favorite neighbor. Am I allowed to say that?
O sea, le agradezco mucho a ella porque me ayudó con mi diente. Hace un año me caí, tuve un accidente y si no hubiera sido por ella, mi diente estuviera.
You put it up from the front. You got it.
God bless you.
You're amazing.
How are you? Dora,
Good.
Son, Mom, everybody.
They're good. Everyone's good. But I will see you soon again.
Okay.
Maybe we could meet at the park or something when it's not so hot outside.
Okay, thank
I
you.
will text Jenny and then she'll let you know.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
So I dropped off a delivery for Monica back in July, and she tried to donate $20 to me. And she said, I'm sorry, I don't have any more money. And I said, no, donations are definitely just optional. And she said, I had an accident, my teeth is broken. And we were able to fundraise the money to get her the surgery. And it happened to be on my birthday. So I got a picture on August 6th of Monica smiling. And it was one of the best presents I've ever gotten. So I think it's just really important that people understand that mutual aid is for everyone, regardless of whether you're giving and receiving or just giving or just receiving, you know.
You often see the rise of mutual aid groups in times of crisis, but having studied these groups from before, I know that this strategy is one that groups have been using even when there isn't a crisis, just to take care of themselves and to be able to flourish in this American society. My mother was born in St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and I started off wanting to do research on Caribbean and African American social interaction. And I just kept coming across these groups with the name Antigua Mutual Aid Society, Jamaica Mutual Aid, blah, 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 mutual aid. And I was really intrigued by what that was. And so in doing that research, I came across these groups and saw how they did lend help to each other in times of need and how important that help was, especially for immigrants who were newly arrived into the country who hadn't any support system, how important having a group like that was. So this is the Antigua and Barbuda Progressive Society building. So in the 1930s, this organization specifically had a burial fund. So if a member passed away, the group would pay for the funeral. Whereas the older groups were already a community in some ways, they already had established a community, newer groups begin to establish a community in doing the work of mutual aid. And I think that's a big difference that I've seen.
I've lived in Bed-Stuy for a really long time, and I think now I'm definitely more familiar with the neighborhood. I feel when I drive by that I've been to all these buildings. I'm been here. I sort of like felt the need to be the savior. And so whenever like there'd be a post for a neighbor that like needed urgent groceries, I'd like jump on it, sharing the work and like encouraging like, you know, new faces. You know, if we have more hands and, you know, the work is split up and then it doesn't feel like there's so much weight on like a few amount of people to like get the work done.
Found out about Bed-Stuy Strong, and then you know, we got a card during COVID, and I knew that they were making grocery deliveries, and I joined the Slack group and then just like posted that I had a car. I'm not great at grocery shopping, so I was like, you know, if anyone wanted to partner.
And I was like, yay, anyone needs to drive. And I was like, me, I have a million deliveries to do. And so like I Slacked message season, and we became a duo. She makes it way easier. I still want to keep feeding people groceries because I know that people are still going to need food like regardless. But the happy part of it was that like I would finally be able to tell myself like, you can take a break now, like you can focus on Samoy, which is what I needed to do. So the break is like really good for me because I wasn't gonna stop.
I think like people's needs are gonna evolve, and like so just like, you know, continuing to understand what those needs are as things change, and then coming up with ways to help.
People don't have to reinvent the wheel every time they want to do something. If they want to start a community fridge, you don't have to look up all these things. You can just literally look at the example of this other group that they have laid out before you and then follow that template. These are all the things I look at when I look at groups from the 1920s and 19 teens. I'm looking at their meeting minutes. I'm reading what every group said about this. I'm looking at their pictures to see what the makeup of their memberships look like. This idea of archiving these artifacts, especially in Black and immigrant communities, we don't think that our records or the things that we produce are important or will be necessary, but they are. Many people throw them out. And so I think that is one of the reasons why I was really interested and really like adamant about working on the resource library and archive, so that historians in 2050, when they look back at this period, will have these records so they can talk about like the importance of these groups and how people came together and helped each other in 2020.
The idea behind organizing is that all together we marshal every unit of power and move this thing, turn the world around.